Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of And Yet We Believe. I am Roger Pimentel. This is Ann Pimentel.
Hello.
And we are a married couple having honest conversations about the beautiful, messy middle of Latter-day Saint life. What are we talking about today?
So today we are going to be talking about how we need to, in our church we believe that we are all created in the image of God.
Sure.
Right? This is not just our church.
Yeah.
All churches, all Christian religions believe this. And at the same time, it's often hard to see that in other people.
Sure.
So we want to talk about kind of some stuff that we're seeing in the world right now, especially in the U.S., as there's a lot of strife, a lot of heartache, and we want to talk about how we are talking about people. A lot of our language can be really dehumanizing, and that goes against knowing that everybody is created in the image of God. So let's jump in and talk about this.
First, why don't you tell us about the title of the episode here?
Yeah, so, I mean, in these political strifes that we're in, or
the world falling apart,
right,
it seems like.
This hardship that we're all going through, and a lot of heartache that we're going through. It's easy to kind of split into an us and them situation. And we have to be able to see God in everyone, even in the people that we see as, quote, them.
Yeah.
So
the people on the other side, politically, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Great.
So just a few things to point out. We want to acknowledge what is actually happening.
Okay.
You know, people are losing their lives. There's real death, there's real enforcement actions, there's real trauma happening to not only the immigrant population, our brothers and sisters that are undocumented or documented that are being taken off the streets. There's trauma happening to the people that are doing that. There's trauma to all of us that are watching that.
Yeah.
And this is a shared trauma, whether we realize it or not. This is a shared trauma because none of us have ever lived through something like what we're going through right now.
Right.
And so we have to acknowledge that we're not here to argue facts or to assign legal blame of who's right and who's wrong. That's not the point of tonight's conversation. We're here to talk about how disciples of Christ see people in moments like this.
Yeah.
And I just also want to point out, in moments of fear and conflict, the greatest spiritual danger is not choosing the wrong policy. It's forgetting the humanity of people involved.
That's a great way to set this up.
Yeah. So it's not like we're not talking policies. We have our opinions about that, and maybe that will come out just because we're human and things like that come out. But that's not our intention to talk about policy or who's right and who's wrong. But we just don't want to lose our humanity or lose the ability to see humanity in other people.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
Why don't you tell us a bit? Do you want to jump to Greg Boyle, or do we want to set this up a little bit more? Because Father Greg Boyle is going to knock this out of the park for all of us.
I think we can go there.
Okay.
So Ann and I had the privilege this past week of going to see Father Gregory Boyle hear him speak. Amazing. If you're not familiar, he's well known for founding a group called Homeboy Industries and working a lot with gang members in Los Angeles.
And he's a Jesuit priest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so he's been very involved with, it's the world's largest reintegration program for gang members right there out of LA. And so that's who he spends his time with all the time.
Yeah.
Is these gang members. He talks about all the tattoos. He was telling a story about a man with a very explicit forehead tattoo.
Yeah.
You know,
angry at the world sort of tattoo.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing we're talking about here. I've been thinking about getting a forehead tattoo.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Something angry, probably. I don't know.
Apparently that's what you put on your forehead if you're getting a tattoo.
But Father Boyle talks about two major points, and if you've read his books, you'll see these points come through. And it was so impactful to hear him speak live about these things. And so 2 points. Number one, everybody is unshakably good, no exceptions.
Oh, that is so hard to believe.
That's it. The great start, right? And then the second one, we all belong to each other, no exceptions. And so I think the no exceptions in there is doing a ton of heavy lifting, because we're saying every person is unshakably good. And where does your mind go? Well,
this person's not, or
maybe,
I could give you a list.
Yeah, this person or this politician or this person that I'm opposed to in some way. Nope, sorry. No exceptions. And the implication here is that there are no people that are evil. Mm-hmm. That every person is unshakably good.
Yeah, and I think that this lives or begins in the scripture in Genesis, chapter 1, verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. Like that, if we are created in God's image, and God is love and God is good, then that means everything that God created is also good.
Yes.
No exception.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, we are all created by God. We are all children of God. No exceptions.
Yeah.
Go into that. So these 2 points, everybody's unshakably good. We all belong to each other. And Father Boyle goes on to say, now, do I think that all our vexing, complex social dilemmas would really be addressed and disappear if we embrace those 2 principles? Yes, I do. And I love that setup there. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is every person is unshakably good.
Well, and let's just explain a little bit more that he says the issue is with the people that are doing harm, that they are unwell. They have goodness in them, but they can't access that goodness because they have other things on top that have caused them to be unwell.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's meaning. He's not saying that these people that are doing harm, oh, they're just doing good things, they're a good person.
Right.
That's not what he's saying. He's saying that deep down, everybody is unshakably good. Some people just can't access that as well as others.
And when he says unwell, it doesn't necessarily mean like mental illness, although that can be.
Right, that's a huge part of it, I think.
He talks about people being wounded as well, and he talks about find the thorn beneath, which I think is a really impactful phrase as well. And so I think that's something that we can apply to ourselves as well, is when we see malice or hatred or disgust toward other people within ourselves, we can ask ourselves, where is that coming from? What wound is that coming from? What thorn is causing me to feel that way?
Yeah. I pulled the scripture actually from Moses chapter 7, where it's talking about God weeping.
Yeah.
And Enoch is like, how are you crying? Like, what? I don't understand this. And God says, these are thy brethren, they are the workmanship of mine own hands, and I gave unto them knowledge on the day that I created them in the Garden of Eden. And it goes on to say, unto thy brethren have I said, and also given commandment that they should love one another, and that they should choose me their father. But behold, they are without affection, and they hate their own blood. That is an unwell thing to do, right? Like that has some layers. It's not just that these people are evil, but they are unwell. They are struggling with something, and they're not accessing their unshakably goodness that is deep inside. Right.
So that was from Father Boyle. We could just as easily go to the New Testament, where Jesus taught these things. Obviously, Jesus taught that we should love our neighbor. Obviously, Jesus also taught that we should love our enemies.
Right.
And it doesn't mean love your enemies if it's convenient, if they're kind of okay, but if they're bad enough, then you're exempt.
Right.
It's not love them until they've gone too far, and then you're not supposed to love them anymore.
Yeah, cover them with hate at that point.
Right.
That's not what it's saying.
Right. It actually reminds me of that primary song. Jesus said, "Love everyone, treat them kindly too." You know the one. And that's half of the song. Like you're almost the whole way there. And it's so clear. And it's not like the second half of the song says, well, unless, except for these people, sort of a thing. It's Jesus said, love everyone. And somehow the kids are getting that they're getting that in a primary, and we kind of move away from that when we get older.
Well, and yeah, life gets messy. Like, there's a lot more mess and hardship that comes into life once you leave primary.
Yeah.
And so, that makes sense, but we've all been taught that. That's kind of our base teaching.
Yeah.
One of the things that kind of led us to this topic today was an image that I saw online, and it was 4 different pictures, actually, of Jesus washing the feet of different people. And he was washing the feet of a protester. He was washing the feet of an ICE agent. He was washing the feet of an illegal or undocumented immigrant. And he was washing the feet of that little Liam Ramos that was taken by ICE. And Jesus is washing all of their feet. They are all different, in different positions, different situations in their life, and Jesus is meeting all of them. And wow, I was like, I don't think I could do that. I don't know that I could sit at the feet of an ICE agent and wash his feet right now.
Right.
And that's such an example of what Christ would do, and where my lack is.
Right. Well, and when Jesus taught that we should love our enemies, that's pretty aspirational, right?
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of cases, what we have to do first is see our enemies as human beings. And just see them as people. And maybe loving can come later. Maybe that's something we can layer on later.
Yeah.
But first we have to be able to see them as people.
Yeah. And so that's where our vocabulary comes in. It's natural to use a lot of dehumanizing vocabulary. Just so we can kind of all be on the same base here, let's define dehumanization.
Okay.
Michelle Mays, I found this book, or this definition, in Brene Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart.
Yeah.
And she quotes Michelle Mays that says, dehumanization is the psychological process of demonizing the other, making them seem less than human, and hence not worthy of humane treatment. And so what this looks like is our language, where we're talking about people as animals or illegal aliens or monsters, or we could just go on and list all of these things. Those words take people's humanity away.
Yeah.
We're saying you're no longer human, you are an animal. This has been used throughout history all the time. In Nazi Germany, they were saying that Jews were like rats, and their images would depict them as rats. In Rwanda, they were in that genocide, and I'm not even going to try and say the names because I forget who was on which side there. Okay. But they were describing who they viewed as lesser as cockroaches. And it's this desire to make you think of a person as something that you would kind of recoil at and be like, oh, gross, And so it starts with words, and then it goes into pictures and images, and that's kind of solidifying how we think about these people.
Yeah, and it actually affects the brain. So I went down a rabbit hole on this.
All right.
And I'm not an expert in these branches of social science, but maybe I can give you enough to go down your own rabbit hole, should you choose to. But what the research was showing is that when we view people as animals or as vermin or as something less than human, our brain gets trained to keep doing that. And so there's some research by Lasana Harris, by Susan Fisk, where they showed participants images of drug addicts and homeless people, and the way that the brain activated, it says there was reduced or absent activation in the medial prefrontal cortex, which is the same thing that happens when you look at objects instead of people.
Interesting.
And so you can literally get to the point where your brain is not processing people as people, but processing them as objects.
Wow.
And that's actually one of two. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Let me pause a second.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And there's actually 2 kind of different branches here, and there's different research on each one, 2 different kinds of dehumanization. One which is mechanistic, which I just described, which is seeing people as cold or not human in that
just
way.
Part of the lay of the land, almost like
right.
They just fade into the background.
Furniture, yeah. And the other one being what you described, which is animalistic, which is seeing others as primitive or lacking refinement. And the term that they use in the literature is that people have disgust for other people, and that's really kind of a trigger. There is this disgust is what can lead to all of these other behaviors that we're talking about.
Yeah, one of our podcasts a while ago, we were talking about how disgust leads to contempt.
Yeah.
And once you have contempt and you don't see them as human, then you are more willing to allow harm to come to them.
Yep.
I think, the current situation is around undocumented immigrants, people who are leaving their country, and the party line is to always call them illegal aliens, because that allows you to distance yourself. They are alien. They are from somewhere else. They are not part of us. And that's really harmful. And we may not realize how harmful it is when we hear it.
Right.
But it, again, over time, it seeps in, and it allows us to just kind of be neutral and void of emotion and empathy toward people who have come with a purpose.
Right.
Again, like this is not a blanket statement. There's going to be harmful situations that always happen. People always make bad choices. But if our main thing that we do is to think bad about people, or to think that they are disgusting or less than human, if that's our go-to, then we're never going to be able to gain empathy. But if we start by seeing them as a person, learning their story, learning their name, whatever it is, I think that's why it's so popular to say their name, their name.
I think that same thing.
Because that humanizes, that brings them back into a sibling situation, a sibling in God situation.
Right.
It's so important how we talk about people.
It really is.
Because they are people.
Yeah. I want to get practical here in a minute, but I've got one more point that I want to make first.
I do too.
Okay. 2 points coming up, if you're keeping track at home. I want to make a point about the sanctity of human life.
Okay.
Because every life is sacred, because every single human being is a sibling, as you said. Every human being is a fellow child of God. In the Doctrine and Covenants, we've got, remember, the worth of souls is great in the sight of God. So, plenty of scriptural support. This is something we know. When somebody loses their life, when somebody is killed, there is no single instance where someone deserved what they got.
Right.
There is no single instance where they had it coming. That's just not how that works.
If we believe that the worth of souls is great in the sight of God and that they are children of God, then no one deserves to be killed.
Right.
In that way,
Yes.
like if you have that belief, you have to hold on to this other belief that no one is as bad as the worst thing that they did, if they even did a bad thing.
Sure. I'm even wary of the story in the Book of Mormon where Nephi kills Laban, and the way that
I was just talking to people about this today. Yeah.
The way that he records it, right or wrong, is that God told him through the Spirit to kill Laban. And maybe he did. And I wasn't there, clearly. I can't say either way. But I'm not willing to open the door for people to say, God told me to kill this person. He said it's okay. Yeah. That's a precedent that I just don't want to do anything with.
Yeah, I want to imagine, I want to believe in heavenly parents that are going to say, find a different way.
Yeah.
There's something else you could do rather than kill this person. There has to be a different way.
Yeah. And I want to be clear that this is not always what I thought. And I definitely thought different than this when I was younger. So I was thinking about, we were in elementary school during the war in Iraq, Operation Desert Storm. Would have been like 8, I want to say, if I have that timing right. And I remember in the newspaper, while this was going on, in the newspaper, they printed a big, in color American flag. And it was the width of the page of the newspaper. And I cut it out, and I stuck it up on my wall in my bedroom. Because at 8 years old, I knew who the good guys were, and I knew who the bad guys were. And I firmly believed that we should obliterate the bad guys. And I'd go to school, and I would draw pictures with my friends. We'd draw pictures of American Patriot missiles blowing up Iraqi tanks and planes and all of this stuff. And yeah, and I'm kind of embarrassed of this past version of myself.
Well, and you probably were just getting like third-hand information. Like you're not sitting there as an 8-year-old watching the news, right?
Probably not.
Not understanding the news, at least,
right?
In its full depth,
right? So I've learned a lot since then, but I also know that I am capable of this same darkness, and so this is not me. Elevating myself. Oh, I'm so spiritually mature, and other people aren't. It's not that way at all. In fact, I will steel man argument for the other side like so easily. Are there people trying to harm us, and there's benefit in us getting to them first? What about defense? What about war in the Book of Mormon? What about Captain Moroni? What about Helaman and Stripling warriors? What about righteous Teancum killing the wicked Amalickiah with a javelin in his heart? All of these things. Doesn't all of this create a precedent for violence in the name of God? That's somehow good. No. You can make all of those arguments, and maybe it does. But
I don't think it does.
So this is me acknowledging the other arguments.
Right.
Whether it's national defense or defending your family or, all of these things. I recognize those, and I absolutely see that. Here's where I land on that. Most of us are not leading the Nephite armies. Most of us are not on the front lines. I work in an office.
Yeah.
And I think in our workplaces, and in our neighborhoods, in our church buildings, and our schools, I simply can't reconcile hate and violence toward other people with the gospel that Jesus Christ taught.
Right.
Now, maybe there are people that are in that position in the military or whatever. I'm not. Mm-hmm. And most of us are not. And so I don't think there's a place for that kind of hate and othering and all of those things in the lives that we lead.
Yeah. Well, as you were reading all of those things, those examples from the Book of Mormon, I was thinking, well, who made the Nephites and the Lamanites go against each other? And who taught Teancum to hate this wicked King Amalickiah?
Yeah.
There has to be back steps a little bit to understand how did we get into this position? And kind of as you said earlier with the Laban story with Nephi, we have one record. We have Nephi's point of view, telling what he thought and justifying his actions, whether they are from God or not. We have his perspective of the story. And that's actually what I was going to bring up next, was the dehumanization that shows up even in the scriptures.
Okay.
So in the Book of Mormon, they talk about the Lamanites as filthy, loathsome, full of mischief. These are all dehumanizing characteristics. They're taking a whole person and reducing them to character defects.
Right.
Or a whole group of people and reducing them to character defects.
Yep.
And so when you have dehumanization from the beginning like that, then it's no wonder that there's wars and strife among these people for centuries to come.
Yeah.
Right? And so, we talk about these things. Is it called of God to, can we do this violence in the name of God? Well, let's step back and see what got us here. And does God want us actually fighting? I'm pretty sure God said, love everyone.
Yep. Right?
And so it doesn't jive for me with a God who teaches love to also use God's name in violence.
Yep.
That just doesn't work. Interestingly, in the New Testament, there is a story in Mark where Jesus himself uses dehumanizing language. Okay, so there's a story where a woman comes and her daughter has been possessed by demons, she says, come heal my daughter. And Jesus says, we're going to wait. I'm going to feed, isn't it more important that my children are fed right now rather than throwing their bread to the dogs? Essentially saying, I'm going to be with these people right now and I'll go deal with your daughter later. And he was comparing her to a dog.
Do you think he was parroting what the Pharisees or other Jews might have been saying at the time?
It's very possible. What he said exactly, and this is in the NLT translation, the New Living Translation. First, I should feed the children, my own family, the Jews. It isn't right to take food from the children and throw it to the dogs.
Yeah, okay.
But then the woman replied, and she said, "That's true, Lord, but even the dogs under the table are allowed to eat the scraps from the children's plates." And so she's attempting to bring, like, not to rehumanize a dog or to humanize a dog, but to just, like, elevate it a little bit and say, but even dogs get to eat. Okay. And so Jesus has this example, but the broader story is what is important, I think, of, like, we're not going to just focus on the Jews who he was talking about, and this woman was a Gentile. We're going to bring in everybody, and everybody gets to participate at the same time. Yeah. And he said to her, "Good answer." He said, "Now go home, for the demon has left your daughter." So he healed this girl because kind of the mom advocated for her and spoke up and said, "Nope, my daughter is just as important, and we're gonna all get this at the same time." So I just think that's an interesting biblical example. The Old Testament talks about the wicked and the unrighteous, and they're vile and they're vipers and lions, and there's lots of this language throughout the all of the scriptures. So we need to be really careful in how we talk about people and remember that they are children of God. They are humans. When we talk about the wicked and the unrighteous, we need to remember those are children of God. Yeah. Even in the scriptures, even now, even among politicians, they are all children of God. It's so hard.
So we talked about getting practical. Do you have any ideas for how we can do that? What are the little things that we can do to help us, to help ourselves, frankly, to help ourselves see other people as human beings? So
the first few things, I think, are we need to remember that seeing someone's humanity does not equal approving their actions. Okay? There are things going on right now that I do not agree with. And I can still see the humanity in the people that are doing it. Yeah. And I can hope for better, I can hope that they will do better sometime. In that same vein, compassion does not equal moral surrender, and accountability does not equal cruelty. We do not need to be cruel. We don't need to, turn around and hurt people because they are hurting people that we deem not deserving of the hurt. Right. Right. So I think it's important that we shift the question to from who is right. We shift that to who is being harmed and how do disciples respond.
We really care about being right, don't we?
Yeah, as Americans, we definitely care about that.
Yeah, whether it's being on the right side or having the right policy or the right ideas or whatever it is, when kind of laying underneath all the different policy ideas and whatever is being a good Christian, is loving everybody and seeing other people as human beings. Whether you're on the right or the left or whichever side or viewpoint you have, that's an undergirding below all of it, below all of those decisions.
Right. Here's an important statement. Okay. And I'm going to say it and maybe read it again because we need it to sink in.
Okay, let's go.
The moment we stop seeing people as people, we stop following Christ, even if we're convinced we're right. Let me say that again.
That's so good.
The moment we stop seeing people as people, we stop following Christ, even if we're convinced we are right. We cannot be disciples of Christ and see people as monsters or animals or evil or wicked. Everybody is unshakably good.
No exceptions.
No exceptions.
Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Wait, there's more.
We could very easily end it right there. Yeah. That is so powerful, and that has to be a check that we make on ourselves is, am I slipping into viewing people as something other than human? Right. As something other than human beings. And maybe a way to check ourselves on that is to look at the terms that we're using. And so if we are talking about, I don't know, you mentioned illegal aliens earlier. Anytime we're referring to a group by a name, what if instead we were saying people who are from a different country,
Yeah.
or people who believe this, ideology or something. But something that starts with people might be a way to do that, where we can say, okay, they're human beings, they're people, they do this thing that I don't agree with, but at the end of the day, they're still people.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes from Valerie Kaur, from her book See No Stranger, is she says, "As I move through my day and come across people on the street or faces on the street, or subway or on a screen, I say in my mind, sister, brother, sibling, aunt, uncle. I start to wonder about each of them as a person. When I do this, I'm retaining in my mind, or I'm reframing my mind to see more and more kinds of people as part of us rather than them." So any person you see on the street, in the subway, on a screen, if you're watching TV, start to say in your mind, sister, brother, and that just softens your heart immediately. Because we can't look at all of this strife and think all these evil people and then feel good about ourselves. But when we humanize it, it softens our hearts.
And it couldn't be more theologically sound, because we believe that we are all spiritually siblings.
Right.
And so using that terminology when we look around and see total strangers, whoever it may be, people that we know we don't agree with, they're still sisters, brothers, siblings, aunts, uncles, like she said.
Yeah. So here's a question for you.
Okay.
And I'm just throwing this at you without any prep time.
Here we go. Let's get it.
What does mourning with those who mourn look like when pain and fear exists on both sides?
Oh, that's a fascinating question. Lots of times I think about this phrase, mourning with those who mourn, being about people who are marginalized.
Okay.
And have a lot of things to mourn, and maybe have greater suffering, physical suffering or other kinds of suffering in their lives than we do. Boy, it's so fascinating to apply that to kind of both sides in any situation, in which case everybody's mourning, right? Everybody's suffering. Everybody has malice and hate as part of this disagreement, as part of this being on opposite sides of things. So maybe that means mourning with those who mourn means sitting with everybody on both sides.
Yeah. I mean, I think about what you said earlier from Gregory Boyle, Father Boyle, that he said, look for the thorn that's underneath. I think fear is a thorn that a lot of people wear or carry. And when you see that people are just afraid, whether they have been made to be afraid, by whatever media they're listening to, and, someone is made out to be the boogeyman, or a group is made out to be the boogeyman. I think we all carry a bit of fear inside of us. And fear causes people to do hard things. And to be hard people. And so I just think it's, again, what Valerie is saying of just wondering about people and being curious about who they are and what they are experiencing. I think that's how we mourn with people. We don't have to understand it. It doesn't have to happen to us to have us have empathy for it. We did a whole episode on that. It shouldn't have to happen to you for it to matter, I think is what we called it. So, yeah.
I think it's easy to become cynical of our own circle of influence. Like, how much can we really do? We can't stop every war or fix every system or heal every wound that we see in other people or even in ourselves necessarily. And I don't think we have to. I don't think we have to put it on our backs to stop the wars, unless you can. Please do. But I think we can decide to not become the thing that we hate.
Right. We don't have to fix everything, and we just need to focus on the things that we can do.
Right.
We can speak up. We can send an email, make a call, text someone. We can build a bridge. We can do things that maybe aren't going to end everything immediately or fix everything immediately, but we're spinning this web that is connecting everybody and will make us all stronger as we connect as humans.
Yeah. I grabbed a little quote from Nadia Bowles-Weber.
She's a fave.
She always kind of speaks to the vulnerable parts of me,
Okay.
I think, and this did that as well. And she says, maybe serving a heavy world doesn't mean absorbing its full weight. Maybe it means setting down what isn't ours and lifting the one small specific thing that is. Tending a body, telling the truth, making enough soup to feed yourself, and pouring a little extra into a jar to drop off for a neighbor. Showing up to a demonstration even if you've never been to one. Loving fiercely where your feet actually are. Taking a video of anything you see that's unjust, even if your hands are shaking. Resisting despair and all its empty promises. That won't save everything, but it will save something. And that is how we keep going.
I love that. And I wonder if, she says it won't save everything, but it will save something. It is saving our humanity.
Yep. Our own, yeah.
And it is securing the humanity in other people that we see in other people. It's keeping dignity as part of the story.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, I think if we can take something away, it's maybe we can see other people a little more today or tomorrow, and just try to have that be the contribution that we make.
Yeah. So a few little things. Pray for people by name. Pray for people that you are tempted to hate by name. I know. Humanize it.
That's a tall ask.
Humanize it. And maybe you need to take a little step. I pray for that guy that I just can't stand. That's a step. God knows what's in your heart.
Yep.
Listen to stories, not just arguments. Proximity. Learn about people. Be curious. Hear their stories, not just the policy argument that's going on.
Right. Okay.
Choose language that restores dignity and refuse to joke about suffering. We can't joke about what people are going through in dehumanizing ways. It's not okay.
Yep.
Christ asks us to be the witnesses, not the executioners.
Right.
So witness what is happening, and sometimes that's all we can do, and that's enough.
Yeah. Not only did he not ask us to be executioners, he asked us to forgive over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think as we're going about this week, pay attention to the language that you use, whether it's on social media, in texts to friends or family, or in conversations, whatever it is. Pay attention to the words, the very specific words that you're using to talk about the people that are involved in what we're seeing all over the news. And take a beat. If you're about to say something that maybe could be dehumanizing, take a beat and change that. Instead of saying the dehumanizing word, practice curiosity, compassion, and restraint, and see the dignity and the humanity in another person.
Yeah. That's what we can do.
Yep. Well, thanks so much for joining us tonight. This is kind of a heavy topic, but it's so important.
Yeah.
And I really believe that our words can make a difference. And we can, like I said, we can build that web of connectivity and connection with other humans, with our brothers and sisters around the world.
Yep. All right. Well, we will see you next time.
See you later.